Hello everyone and welcome to Resident Evil Reversed, where a Resident Evil quote-unquote expert and a person new to the Resident Evil film series experienced them for the first time in reverse. So we are currently on our third installment, which is the fourth movie, Resident Evil Afterlife.
Yeah, just finished the second trilogy in a way.
Yeah.
So that was something else.
Yeah, now you have all this context for how we got to where we were at the start of the final chapter. You know.
Yeah, it's it's very interesting how, you know, obviously we'll see how 3 through 1 are interconnected, but if this is, you know, the first entry of the second trilogy, then that kind of reflects the trilogy structure, where the first tends to be the best, and then every now and then the second is the best. Not in this instance.
No. There are definitely individuals who will say that Retribution is like the best one, and I just don't get that. I mean, if you're purely there just for balls to the walls action, I suppose, but I mean, not to pre-game my thoughts too much, but I think the action in this has definitely been the best so far, because I can see what's going on. They have like interesting locations. It's not just, hey, here's these city blocks we're fighting in, or here at the very end we're like on an icy field, you know. And in Retribution, right at the end, I was finally getting invested in the action more fully, and then it was over. So this movie has, you know, rooftops, it has, you know, shower block with water flowing everywhere, there's, you know, a sealed supervillain white room for the climax, you know, there's a bit more variance. So, I mean, not to kind of spoil it, but so far this is definitely the best.
Yes, by a wide margin.
Yes, yeah.
I'd go so far as to say this is better than the last two combined. So
yes, I definitely had as much enjoyment with this one as I had combined the other two. And the thing is I remember seeing this back, getting it from the library back in 2011 or what have you, and I actually I have a soft spot for Afterlife. It's the way I would kind of describe it to people unfamiliar is that it's like a C-. Let's make it less about comparing to a Matrix sequel. It's like if you took the Matrix Reloaded and did a C-, D+ version of Matrix Reloaded.
I'll bump it to a C of it. It's you know, if a D- / D+ Matrix Reloaded is Bulletproof Monk, then this has that half step above.
Yeah, because to me, Afterlife kind of feels like a Bulletproof Monk or an Equilibrium. I mean, obviously Equilibrium has a bit more thematically going on.
Sure.
But it does seem of a piece with the, hey, you know, we all love the Matrix. Here's a Kmart version of the Matrix movies for you to enjoy when, you know, they're not making them anymore. So,
well, good luck, Kmart.
Good luck, Kmart.
That's I would agree. I think that you know, I was worried from the first scene, because I do think, even though I didn't give a shit about Retribution, the action sequences tended to be pretty well filmed. The gun fu and all of that. The first action sequence in this movie looked pretty bad.
It was bad.
In no small part because of the cheap-looking duplication of Mila Jovovich, you know, copy and pasted.
Very clearly copy and paste green screened around. And what really indicates this is, for some reason, and maybe part 3 is going to answer this, all of the clones look identical. All of the clones have the same outfits. All the clones have the same gear and the same ammo. And they, at the very least, Prime Alice looks different.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't go far enough where they all look identical, but it was just absurd to me that there wasn't they clearly shot this, like, her on a green screen in a day and then just copy-pasted her around for that opening scene. And we'll add the bullets in slow-mo in post.
You know,
very unfortunate because you can tell the premise behind that intro is like, oh, one last big use of her power kit, and then we're gonna take it away.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, yeah, to your point, the action in the start is very rough. It does get better.
Yes.
When we don't have to do that really awful duplication.
Yeah, and I will give it credit. There's not really a thematic exploration of what it's like for Alice to have lost her powers, but at the same time they don't make that the focal point of the action.
Right.
So, obviously a lot of the times there are lots of moments where you go, oh, she's basically operating the same as she would if she had her powers. But when you really focus, it's like, there's not really that much gun fu. It is more grounded action.
Yeah.
She more has just the natural, luck and skill of any generic action hero. It's not.
Yeah.
She doesn't. It's not as OP in presentation as it is in effect, essentially.
No, I would agree with you. Yeah, they don't focus too much on losing the powers, and again, we'll see in 3, because if I recall, 3 is where the powers are the most used, and I think they felt the need to scale it back because, as you discerned, now that we've gotten to 3 out of the 6, the 2 he didn't do were 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And this is him coming back and going, it's my story. I'm either going to kind of course correct from you, or I'm going to show you up by going a step above or what have you.
Yeah, which either way, good on him, because this is probably the first of, at least as far as his Resident Evil films go, where I'm seeing some artistry to Paul W.S. Anderson and his direction, and like you were observing throughout, scenes are actually kind of paced out.
Yes.
There's an ebb and flow to what's going on in the story. It doesn't just, because Retribution,
it's just constant.
It's just
it's noise.
Puddle of mud, constantly going, and kind of the same with the last chapter, where it's just a goo of it doesn't feel like an Act 1, Act 2.
Yeah, in Afterlife, there is a very clear prologue, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 epilogue.
Yeah.
And yes, it's delivered in a mid-credit scene, but
yes,
I would still argue that this felt like a movie.
Yes,
I think that's my point. Is the 5th and 6th ones, they felt like an exercise in jerking off the SFX and the set piece action coordinator.
Yeah.
Whereas here, and going to the prologue that they recreate in Retribution, and we'll talk about that. Because in Retribution, they say, oh, well, actually, we have these zones where we recreate for the purpose of pitching to countries the T-virus.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they know how to perfectly replicate the first outbreak of the plague in Japan. I don't know if it's a retcon that this is a testing site and then they released it, or if it's meant to be they recreated it exactly, but we get a very cheeky scene where, again, it's raining in Tokyo and there's a woman standing there and everyone has umbrellas, and it's so dumb. It loops back around to actually being...
Yeah.
I never noticed that, actually, that they're using the umbrellas to, she's seen through the side of the see-through umbrella.
Yeah.
It just, kind of a cool prologue, to really a zombie movie in general. I'll give it that. And then, of course, it goes into the... And I will say, another plus to this one, the My Name is Alice, Here's the Backstory, was much shorter and much less intrusive than the following 2 ones, where they literally have clip shows and...
Yes.
And I'm talking to the camera like I'm in a intercompany educational video.
Yeah, it's nice. Because there's... It's funny how quickly it gets dropped, but, it goes to show that it was just an exposition dump. But she has... 2 or 3 video journals, but it feels like a character choice. It doesn't feel like intrusive exposition. The only time there is that is when she links back up with Claire And it's like, you don't remember? What about XYZ?
18 months ago, LJ, Kmart, we were all in the desert. Do you remember?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, good on him there. And as much as we, have said this with shitting and grins before of, perhaps the previous movie will explain what's going on here, you gotta give it credit. The end of Afterlife does set up the beginning of Retribution.
Yeah.
Not to jump around, but I will. You have that ending, and I feel like it's such a rare thing in films where, you have your climax and, we've won, and then, but there's a bigger threat coming that we aren't prepared for at all. I guess we're fucked. And then the next movie, it's like, well, this is how we got out of it, but no, Retribution is like, no, you're fucked.
Yeah. I think that is something, barring the final chapter, because it just absolutely does not acknowledge the ending of Retribution in a satisfying way. But so far, going from Retribution to this, because what I perceive to be the Resident Evil formula, I do appreciate that it is a rare thing for a film franchise especially to go, hey, we advanced, like we got somewhere, and then immediately just this is not, you've really overcome nothing. You're making baby steps here. This is, and then you get set back even more, like, we found 2,000 survivors. Immediately all of them get killed or captured in the next movie. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, it's it did solidify that Retribution is essentially pointless.
Yes. Totally.
Because just imagine, for one thing, imagine watching through an order. But if you were to go from Afterlife to the final chapter, it's like, last we saw, it was them facing down an absolutely unstoppable swarm of military technology.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all my friends died. And it's like, oh shit, like that would have been impactful. Instead, we got the overly artsy, it's all going in reverse, you see, because and it is showing it, but then it's like, and then she got captured, and this is her adventure of breaking back out of the capture that we showed at the start of this movie. It's like, okay,
really a case where Retribution, the final chapter, should have been one film. It should have been, I've been captured, and the real Dr. Isaacs is here and he's been woken up, and then you just combine these two stories. But so Afterlife, again, pretty much there was very rarely a time where I felt contempt. I was enjoying myself either in a genuine way or in a ironic way. It was it does help. We get 12 minutes of Wesker in this movie.
That's true.
He is the bookends. He first is in the intro where the underground Tokyo facility is attacked by Alice clones, and he manages to shoot like 3 of them with his double Desert Eagles, like he's in the Matrix. That's
incredible.
Great. Yeah. And then we get the scene where he takes away her powers, and they get into a crash. And this is the one part where it's like, and then just jumps. She's fine. No explanation. It makes sense he's fine because he has the T-virus.
Yes.
But it just jump cuts, and then she goes to find Kmart and Arcadia, and there's nothing. There's no safe haven, and I do think that it wasn't too cliche, the whole there's no Arcadia. It's actually just like bullshit to lure the survivors to be experimented on it. I like it. I like that. This ostensibly from the outside broken down ship is hiding this horrible, clinically clean scientific experimentation hell at its center, and Wesker's on the throne like the emperor, he even says friends.
He does.
Like, but yeah, going through the movie again, like there was a few moments where I could see Mila Jovovich attempting to act convincingly, and it it is funny because a lot of the movie is very much confined to one building, like a high rise, trying to get out of it. But I do think that worked in its favor, so that they could save the climax to be where it goes ape.
Yeah.
Because here we get the intro to the Axeman.
Love the Axeman.
It's so much cooler when there's not two of him.
Yeah.
When you think he's just a unique entity, the Axeman's pretty cool.
Yeah, and when you don't cock tease me with the idea of him getting a flaming axe, I appreciate, they have the cool setup shot of him dragging his axe around the city, and then he shows up at the gates, and you're like, oh god, you're fucked. But then he just very gently taps on it for about 15 to 20 minutes.
You see it. He's like, I'm not in a hurry. You're not getting out of here.
Yeah, this is the exit. So
yeah,
But to your point about Mila Jovovich, I think one of the things that helps with her and the story as a whole is, and again, lots of praise for this movie. I'm very surprised, but I feel like this is, going backwards, the first Resident Evil film where the rest of the cast feels like a cast.
They feel as if we actually spent the time to make people.
Yes.
They're not all like three-dimensional necessarily, but they're all recognizable as elements within the story. Oh, he's the coward. Oh, he's the slimy one. Oh, she wanted to be an actress, so it ties to like the previous world.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris is like this mysterious loner who we don't know. Oh, he's actually Claire's brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luther. Oh, he's the leader. He's kind of the one who Alice is bonding with a bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's got like you're saying, is it doesn't feel like some of the others where it's just, we just needed bodies here,
Exactly. Yeah.
Even the characters from the games, like Leon and Barry Burton, they just feel like bodies to be there,
Yeah, that's the thing, is this movie, it feels like she has come into a world where there is an existing story going on. There's group dynamics at play.
Yeah.
Whereas, in Retribution and the final chapter, it's like, and here are the meat puppets that Alice is surrounded by that will all die while she continues to fight and succeed. And it's like, oh,
and that's the other thing, is like in this movie, Claire actually gets to initially bring down phase 1 of Axeman, and I'm like, oh, someone other than Alice gets to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they also, Paul W. Sanderson, he also does something interesting where they don't beat Wesker, but he makes a point of going, okay, I'm going to recreate this fight from the games, but I'm not just putting Alice in there.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to Chris and Claire to have the Wesker fight. Because she really doesn't fight him for that long. It's like, she stabs him and then shoots him, but they get like the whole epic Matrix fight with him. So it's like, oh, the game characters actually get to do stuff? This is crazy.
Yeah. I don't feel too... because it's different from Retribution, where it's like, oh yeah, Leon is gonna get a fight in the final bit. And it's like, well, he doesn't do shit though.
Yeah.
And yes, effectively that is what happens here. It's like,
yeah,
what did Chris and Claire do to Wesker?
Nothing. Yeah.
But I think that helps to establish power scaling, essentially.
Yeah, well, it says, oh, Alice would have been screwed if we weren't here.
Yes, exactly.
It took the game characters fighting Wesker to hold him off long enough, I guess.
I do think that is one instance where I feel the editing was a little bit at a disservice, because you got it was very cool, but you got the entire sequence of Chris and Claire versus Wesker, and then he beats
standing there,
and then he gets to the end of it, and it's still, oh, I'm facing down the dogs, and it's like,
I almost feel, I don't know this, I almost feel as if, I'd have to go back and look, but it's debatable. It could be that Chris and Claire weren't there originally, and someone was like, hey, that's such bullshit. We need to give them something.
I could see that, because it's a full. It's not just a they get knocked out. It's no, they've gone beneath the floors. They're completely
out, completely disappear. Because also, what's interesting is in the background of the Chris, Claire, and Wesker fight, you never see Bennett, or what's his name. He just vanishes.
That's
and
true.
Then pops back in. So it's like this thing where either it was the edit. Either they shot it in a way that didn't account for both, and then when they edited it, they didn't want to split up the fight, or that was added later. It's hard to tell.
And it was, they were also able to have
because Chris and Claire come and shoot Wesker like 50 times.
Yeah.
So it could have been that they show up when he's already down and then do that.
That's true. Yeah, because when they show up, it's a surprise from behind Wesker.
Yes. Yeah.
Where Alice came in from presumably the only entrance.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It literally makes no sense. It's just so that they can get the framing from the games where he takes the shades off, his eyes glow red, and then he throws the sunglasses, which, again, that if you get to that moment, you're not like, this is fantastic. Look, dude, I'm a simple man,
It's, again...
You should have brought more.
Because if it's not clear from our first 2 episodes, I've kind of hated these movies.
Oh, it was fucking dreadful.
But even I, like, at the end of this, I'm like, this is... Like, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I had a feeling, because I remember seeing it back in the day, and I was like, okay, that's not, like, something I'm going to rewatch a lot, but this has some sauce.
Yeah.
It's, like, fun. It's not gonna teach you anything about life, but it'll definitely pass the time, It's a lot of fun. Again, this is one that I could see you showing people, and again, it's one of those movies that rides the line where it's like, sometimes it's the ironic, like, oh god, that clone duplication looks so bad, but this is still fun. And then it goes like, this Matrix bullshit is actually, I like this. This tickles something.
It's the good kind of edgy, where it's like, you know what, like, this is there for grungy, like, style points and aesthetics, but god damn, it's working for me.
It also helps that, again, the score to this is actually pretty good. I quite like the techno score, but in the climax, for some reason, I don't know who made this decision, but Paul Davis Anderson was like, the grungy, edgy band Perfect Circle? We're going to take a remix of one of their songs, and it's going to be, like, the Wesker theme, and it's like, that's really cool.
That's so funny, because I wasn't sure who the band was, but I was like,
it's Perfect Circle.
This makes me think of that song from Constantine.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it's that exact same vibe. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that was hitting my radar correctly.
Yeah, and not to go down too far a digression, because it is a Resident Evil movie, so I'm sure it's more like, oh, they thought it sounded cool.
Sure.
But the weird thing is they use an instrumental for most of it, and then they bring in lyrics a little bit, and then at the ending they bring in the full lyrics where it's like, oh, everyone will have their day to die, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
they're doing, but the lyrics are all about someone watching someone self-destructive and going, like, what's your deal? And so in a weird way, I've seen people online go, well, you could view the song as being Wesker's POV going, like, to Alice, like, why are you fighting? This is so pointless.
Sure.
Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't even know why you're fighting anymore. So, just, again, I'm not hinging it all on the climax, because it's not like there's good parts of the rest of the movie, but it is kind of a thing where in Retribution there's so much noise, and there's no ebb and flow, that when we get to the final fight, even though it's ostensibly cool, oh god, the apocalypse. We've had so much, like, cacophony that the final fight doesn't feel climactic.
Yeah.
But in this film, when you get to the room and you get in there and you feel the dread of, you see the pods, and you see blood in some of the pods, and then the trail of blood, and then, like, the hangar with all the stuff, and then you get to the room, and then there's a screen with data, and then, like, you see a figure behind it, and Alice is walking up, and then it's rising, and it's Wesker, but he's on the throne. It's like, okay, there's some real, it's basic, but the build-up is undeniably effective here.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very cool style, and it is one of those things where you kind of have to. It's like film lighting in scenes where there shouldn't be any. You kind of have to ignore that and accept that as part of it, because they get into the ship. All the lights are off. Everything's gone. And it's like, did they do that? Why did Bennett and Wesker just close everything back up?
Yeah, they like
Well,
weirdly
it's-
imply. So again, we know where it goes.
Yeah.
But there's a thing where Wesker's with Umbrella in the beginning, but then like Alice and a few other lines imply that the Umbrella, it's either that they abandoned ship or that Wesker ate them all
Yes.
to stay alive, which I think that's probably what it is. And then Bennett's like, he's like, I have a new subordinate, literally one guy.
Yeah.
So it's this weird thing where it's like, is Wesker... I think what it's saying is that Wesker is just kind of getting by because he's betting on Alice getting there, and then he will be able to go back to Umbrella because we're not sure if the Red Queen is still the thing piloting him. But Jill's apparently leading a strike team, so it's very ambiguous who the I guess there's more Umbrella people, but
Well, it's also, you know, now organizing it as the timeline is presenting it, it's very odd that we've gone from I guess this does account for the theory that Wesker just ate all the Umbrella people in that boat, because, you know, he gets blowed up and then the next movie he's like, oh, Umbrella's doing terrible things and thousands of people are going to die. I need to help you now, Alice. And I was like, wait, what? How did you get your T cells under control?
I don't know. I
guess he's fine.
Yeah, I guess he's fine.
You know, it almost makes me wish. Imagine this ending where, you know, we have the fight with Wesker and everything. And instead of getting the epilogue setting up the absolute reaming they're about to get from the fleet of Umbrella people, you know, you do another epilogue where it's the, you know, survivors making their way to Washington D.C. And then it's just the epilogue from Retribution.
He's just there,
where it's like, oh, now we have to work together. And then, you know, then from there you make whatever the final chapter should have actually been.
Yeah,
but
we did get a few like little small scenes from Extinction, which is the previous movie, with Kmart. Again, I think you were dead on when Kmart hits Bennett in the face with the shotgun. He's like, who are you? She should have said, I'm Kmart, bitch.
Yeah.
Come on.
It was a wasted opportunity.
Come on.
I guess they didn't realize the irony that Kmart would die shortly thereafter.
Again, I said to you, but I think the joke now would be, I'm Sears.
Yeah.
Good luck, Sears.
Good luck, Sears.
You know?
Yeah. You'll never be what you once were, but perhaps you can avoid extinction.
I set it up last time, but I do like that we also made a point to watch this on a Blockbuster copy. Nathan's wearing his Blockbuster shirt, authentic from the last Blockbuster on Earth.
It was serendipitous.
Yeah, I just think that the moments of low pixel fidelity added to certain shots. That's for sure.
I love how deceptive this is, because the cover is, you know, from
Matrix Reloaded. Yeah,
it's from Matrix Reloaded, and it's from the epilogue or the prologue of this movie. It's not like indicative of how it is. And then the most prominent shot is one of the Alice clones
with the twin katanas,
also from the prologue. So again,
I haven't rewatched it, but I'm pretty sure the trailer, a lot of it is the prologue.
I'm sure.
And
well,
so
yeah, because my assumption is that 3 and perhaps 2, but at least 3 are more so like the entire movie is what the prologue is, where it's the super over the top Matrix action. So I don't know what the mindset is of the Resident Evil film fan base, but were they really scared that fans of 3 would be like, oh, they might not like this version of what we're doing before because it's not as action packed, so we got to make sure in our trailer and in our DVD cover, you know, if they didn't bother going to theaters.
Yeah, see, again, as far as I know, people, and again, we'll see when we get there, but I think people were really like, okay, she also has psychic powers. That's a little too much. And so, yeah, Paul W. Sanderson comes in and says, we're gonna give you like one scene and then take away her powers, you know, bring her back down to Earth. Wentworth Miller, I wanted to bring up him before we forgot. He is he looks like he was given the direction to just picture Clint Eastwood. You're squinting, you're gruffer Wentworth, gruffer.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a delight. I'm glad that we get Chris Redfield for one movie. It's not a lot, but it's something.
It made me more interested in seeing what the Redfield story is like in the games, because my only frame of reference is Leon, so it's like it's good to get the other main character's perspective. And it was also just so funny because I do feel like Wentworth Miller and Sean Roberts have a very similar presentation.
Yes.
They have kind of that like very focused delivery to their voice, where it feels like it's very hard to describe, because my frame of reference for Wentworth Miller is him as Captain Cold in The Flash, where he's just like gobbling up the scenery every second that he gets.
He doesn't.
So I feel like in his first scene, I legitimately thought, I was like, is this going to be like a Matrix Revolutions plotline where it's he's actually Wesker in some way, and but then
I was kind of interesting. I'd be curious to pick their brain, like this whole thing of Chris is introduced as he's so dangerous.
Yeah.
He's like Hannibal Lecter. We have to keep him locked in here, but he won't tell us how to get out until we let him go. But we're so scared. I wouldn't say it goes nowhere, but it definitely doesn't amount to much because he doesn't continue past this film. Well, so any potential thing of Claire remembering, my brother actually was a real bad guy and he did some things.
Sure.
That's not going to happen now. So it's, that kind of sucks.
Honestly, for both of the Redfields, because, this movie establishes, I have amnesia.
Yeah.
And all we get is just, periodically I remember some things that are tangentially relevant, but there's no, like, they give the Redfields the showdown with Wesker, but, like, they didn't do anything for Claire to, like, warm up to Chris at all.
No. Well, I assume,
remember him.
Again, I assume that would have been something that happens later.
Yeah.
But unfortunately now, it's kind of like this aborted arc that doesn't exist. Yeah. It's similar to Retribution. Like, we're spending so much time how Alice has like this daughter who might be her clone. It just not in the final chat, never referenced at all. It's like, what was the point of this?
It does it does make me so confused. I'm curious if I guess it would be Wentworth Miller that would have been busy for Retribution, because
he was busy.
I don't think that Ali Larder really did anything much.
As far as I remember, Wentworth was busy. And then I think Ali Larder might have been busy too. I don't know why they couldn't get Kmart. But they got Jill, and that was what they were hinging it on, was Jill's back.
Yeah. So I again, like you've said, I'd love to pick Paul W. Sanderson's brain regarding Retribution, because I'm like, did you view this as a holding pattern? Were you like, okay, I can't continue the Redfield plot, so I'll do this, and then maybe they'll be free for the next movie? Or was he like, you know what, my queen didn't get enough time to shine, so this is going to be, I need another Alice movie. It's just an Alice movie.
I think that might be it. I mean, we'll have to see, because 2 and 3 are not him, so we can't really base anything with the game characters as far as Paul W. Sanderson goes with that. It's purely this movie.
Yeah.
Because of all the Paul W. Sanderson movies I've seen, now I've seen all of them, but that he's directed, the game characters are only really a big deal in this one, because like in Retribution you get a little bit with Ada.
Yeah.
Leon gets almost nothing. You get a bit with Barry, but it does feel like Retribution is, let's just have another romp with Alice.
Yeah.
It does feel like, again, Paul W.S. Anderson, what I perceive is that he does have, my perception of him is he does have ideas, like he has arcs he wants to tell, but then when he can't do them, he just says, okay, screw it, doesn't matter. I don't feel like he comes up with anything to replace it. He just goes, whatever.
Yeah.
He seems to me like someone who gives up and goes, well, I'd rather have there be a movie than not. So even though like I can't develop this arc any further, who cares? We have Alice. Alice is the glue. So as long as Alice is the constant, people will go with it, I think is his mindset.
Yeah, I guess it is a little bit of the movie factory approach where, or it's like Stephen King versus George R. R. Martin, where Stephen King is like, I get 2 pages done every day, and then I get my book done, and it's like, what? And then you got George, and I've got my issues with his approach, but it does feel like Paul W.S. Anderson is not one to wait for the stars to align to tell the best story.
Which I kind of respect that. Again, it is the longest running video game film franchise as far as I know. So I mean, on that basis, like, good on him for keeping the ship going enough to get to 6 films.
Sure.
That form a modicum of a coherent story. But,
yeah.
But also at the same time, it's weird that he had a fucking 5-year gap for the final chapter, which completely ignored Retribution. But then he is like strangely more consistent between this and Retribution in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the thing, is I guess like the final chapter is what it looks like when he does wait for the stars to align.
Whereas, I got Ian Glenn back.
Yeah, and it's like, all right,
okay.
And obviously, I'm sure a lot of that wasn't up to him. It sounds like funding issues and like delays that way.
Yeah, because I know the final chapter was going to be very different.
Yeah.
There was a few, I have no source that I can quote offhand, but from what I understand, when he came back for 4, he had a rough idea of how he wanted the next 2 movies to go, and then at every turn it was like, no, not happening. He's like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna do the movies then.
He really does roll with the punches. It's
I think that's the most admirable thing is, he has setbacks, and again, rather than like find a way around it, he's just like, no, screw it, we're just gonna do something different.
Yeah, it's so funny because and again, the great thing about this is going to be reviewing the progression of the series as a whole once we've made it back to the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
But I'll be very curious to see. I guess not, because 3 and 2 are different people, but
he's still a producer.
Sure. Yeah.
But from what I understand, 2 is one of the ones he had the least say over.
Sure.
Him and Mila had the least say over 2.
Okay. So maybe that'll be the best. Or
Or
it
the
will
worst.
be the very worst.
The very worst. Yes, exactly. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Afterlife, again, I just want to stress, like, if you're gonna... Of the ones we've reviewed so far, if you're going to want to watch, like, an actual movie that's a, C-level version of a blockbuster movie with depth, you could do far worse than Afterlife. It's better than like Ultraviolet or something like that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think we discussed it. I think my math was off before because, and I'm pretty sure this was on the last episode, but we established that one of the big factors when it comes to the letterbox rating for Resident Evil is that every time you get 7 minutes of Wesker,
7 minutes,
that's an extra half star to whatever the rating otherwise would be.
Yeah.
So
we were just shy of 14 minutes, which would have been 7 minutes.
And you know what? So. I think they maximize those minutes, so I am more inclined to round up than I am to round down.
Yeah, they were close.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was 8 minutes of Wesker. It was 12.
Exactly.
And I to let the audience in on the rules, I had a very slightly arbitrary, so obviously anytime he's on screen, that counts.
Yeah.
Anytime he's in the same room, so within like 15 feet, like if it's a shot of people at computers and you see like his leg in the background, that counts.
Yeah.
Because he's present in the scene, he's talking to people. However, anytime he's in a helicopter and it's far outside, like on the ground, as they look at the helicopter, I didn't count that. So it might actually, if you count some of that, be 14 minutes.
Sure.
But yeah, essentially you get like a good chunk of him at the start, and then you get a really good climax with Wesker. So yeah, I guess we have to do the math now. Removing the 7 minutes and 7 minutes of Wesker, is this a 2.5? And then would that mean that it's a 3.5, or is it just because the thing is I remember going into Retribution like, oh well, this is going to be 2.5.
Yeah.
And then when we got to the end, we were like, that was definitely still a 2.
Yeah.
This one though has to be at least a 2.5. There's no way it's not a 2.5 in comparison to the previous 2.
Oh, for sure. I think my issue was, is this a 2.5 plus an extra star modifier from Wesker, or is this a 3 with an extra star modifier? But I think that part of what brings it to a 3 as a whole is Wesker's parts. It's not just that the 7 minutes are incredible Wesker material. It's that like it.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. It's like he's a modifier, but
he is also within the story.
He's within so if you took him out, I think the film would be like a 2.5, like a positive 2.5. Not like a negative 2.5.
Yeah.
As if I'm going off my scale of 2.5 is okay to mediocre, 2.5 is like, oh, it's okay. It's pretty good.
If I could do 2.5 and a half heart, I'd do it. But
so I think this has to be a 3. Has to be.
I was gonna say I think it's 3.5.
I think it's a 3.5 purely for perfect circle.
Yes.
Throwing the sunglasses, Wentworth Miller catching them and going, why did I grab these?
That's the other thing is I think that even though if we're going into semantics, there wasn't enough Wesker to get the full star rating. I think the addition of Wentworth Miller helps to bolster it there as well.
So this is a 3.5 then.
Yeah, that's where I'm falling.
Because again, I think the movie threads the line. It's ironic enjoyment and legitimate enjoyment, and it manages not to bore me.
Yes.
Or make me pissed off at how shitty it is. So
it is the first Resident Evil where it feels like I spent less time in the time spent. Like it was an hour 40. I don't know how long. I think 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 95 minutes if you don't count credits.
Yeah, and it felt like 80 minutes. It flowed. Time went by. It didn't feel like I didn't feel like the Clockwork Orange setup like Retribution in the final chapter did. So
wow,
that's it.
We did it.
That's a big thing.
Like 14 minutes. 7 minutes and 7 minutes of Wesker really does make your movie better. Which means Welcome to Raccoon City is going to get 5 stars. No. I'm joking. That doesn't count. It's only for this series that the Wesker counts.
I still hope Raccoon City Wesker's good. I know it's not
I don't think he's shit.
That's good.
It's just a different type of Wesker.
He's not as much of a meme.
No, by far not.
Yeah,
no, certainly not.
That's all right.
But yeah, I mean, any closing thoughts on Afterlife?
Yeah, very pleasant surprise. In recent history and my overall watches, I've been in a little bit of a rut of 2s and 2.5 star movies, but more recently we're edging closer to those 3s and 3.5. So I was very surprised that a Resident Evil movie was part of that trend. But
it does have a modifier. I think if I'm being purely objective. But it's Wesker. No. If I'm being purely objective, it's like a 2.8.
That's the thing, yeah. Once Letterboxd breaks out the quarter stars, boy, we're gonna get real technical.
We go back and go, it's like a 0.5.
2.75.
2.75, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that again, I was really hoping with Afterlife. I was like, trust me, this next one, I think it's gonna be fun. And I was right, but I'm glad that because I knew how much Wesker was in the movie roughly.
Sure.
But I was hoping that the rest wasn't a slog, and thankfully it wasn't. So next time we're going to get the first one in the series not directed by Paul W. Sanderson. Resident Evil Extinction, which is directed by our good friend Russell Mulcahy, who we know from Highlander.
Oh, right.
Highlander 2.
Okay.
And Scorpion King 2. So
I don't care what anyone else says. That's a pretty good resume.
It's a pretty good resume.
You know, if it's at least at the level of a Highlander 2, that's pretty good. That's above average. Good. You know.
Wow. If they can just beat Highlander 2, that's all I'm asking for this next time.
It'll beat the Resident Evil average even after it's been picked up by Afterlife. So
right, yeah, like the miracle will be if we get 2 that are 3 stars in a row.
I don't want to get greedy.
No,
but I'm you know, it's no longer an impossibility.
Yeah, because when we got to Retribution, I was like, oh no, I thought that was gonna be like a jump up. It kind of wasn't. So
no.
So Afterlife is the center. It's the center that will hold for now.
It's the key to all of this.
Afterlife is the key to all of this. Thank you all so much for joining us for Resident Evil Reverse. This was a lot of fun. I've got my smile and optimism back. It's no longer something I'm afraid of. Do not fear the dark, brothers. For we hold the light here.
It doesn't look like we're going to be getting 7 films. 7 films that are only 2 stars.
Can you imagine? Like, you get to Welcome to Raccoon City, like, God, that was 7 2-star films.
I mean, that's
worse than Friday the 13th numbers.
I mean, going from Retribution, I'm like, what happens? What's going to happen to me if I make it to the first movie? I'm like, that was also only 2 stars. How did any of these subsequent movies get made? Because I could understand if that first movie has like everything you would want, and then the rest are riding the coattails.
Again, having seen Raccoon City, hopefully not Welcome to Raccoon City. Raccoon City and the first movie were the ones I watched. I want to watch the first one of each to get the context for. And I did rate them what I did, but maybe in hindsight, with fresh eyes, I will think differently. But yeah. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one. We'll see you guys next time for Extinction.
Oh, playtime is over. How fortunate for you.